Katie?
Yeah, I think this brings up a question, not a question, but a comment from Marianne that's going to happen once we start the outreach project, is people are going to want to know what is available now.
That's right.
In digital literacy, in machinery, in whatever is their particular need. The first thing they're going to ask is, well, what can we get now?
Right.
And I think we need to figure out what the answers of some of that are.
Oh,
we hadn't really put that in our plan, but I think it's definitely going to be necessary.
Oh, the slide that I shared about the messaging, that's really what we need to work on over the next month. Is we have to, and I hope to enlist all of you on this call in that effort to get all the important information. But that's exactly right, Katie. We have to know exactly what is available and really be very clear as we're communicating this in simple language that everyone can understand, so that they know what's available, how to access it, where it is, what does it cost. So this is a big effort in messaging first, and then the deployment of those message is the next level. So I expect that to be undertaken over the next month before we even get to the deployment of it.
Thank you, Marianne. Thanks to everyone on that topic. I look forward to working on the project. And so our next category of topics would be elected representative partners. And I should indicate that both in Senator Mike McGuire's office and Congressman Jared Huffman's office, there are new staff members. And while the staff member for Congressman Jared Huffman's office did receive an invite, it was recommended to me with regard to Senator McGuire's office that I send it to the central email address, and did not get a response. So this is the first time in the many years that I've been involved that we don't have any of our statewide electeds, or rather district electeds. So the next on the list would be Supervisor Ted Williams.
Is it okay if I go out of order? I'm embarrassed to say there's something else a priority I got to attend to for about 1 minute.
Certainly. If Supervisor Haschak wishes to make a comment, we could then go to Superintendent Hutchins to give you time.
Yeah, I don't have much to add. I just think that this is really exciting times for what we've been working on for years. And I look forward to seeing some big things happen soon.
Thank you, John. And now we can move on to Michelle. Thanks.
Hi, thank you. I think it's important to update this group that distance learning for education in terms of K-12 education and what we're doing this year to support the pandemic is no longer in existence. School districts are not talking about connectivity this year at all. They are right now very much in-person instruction. We've brought our students back 100%. The mitigation strategies that the state is requiring for schools to do requires mask wearing, 0 social distancing, and testing of unvaccinated staff. We are also testing student athletes, and we are required to test students that are put on what is called a modified quarantine. What a modified quarantine is when a student that is unvaccinated is exposed to another person that has COVID-19 with a mask on mask exposure. The student can continue to come to school as long as they submit to testing twice a week and show no symptoms. So the testing requirements on schools right now as a mitigation strategy are very high, which is putting a high demand on our staff. So what happened to distance learning? Distance learning across the state, there was a lot of cry about the educators' inability to be able to determine when students are at risk of potential child abuse or neglect at home. And because they saw such significant mental health issues, in addition to child abuse and neglect, be underreported and actually rise in incidents and cases last year, the state has removed distance learning as an option for schools to deliver academic instruction this year. So parents that are concerned about sending their students to public school in the crowded environments that we have, the only option that they have is to join independent study. Now, the state also did redesign the rules of independent study. Independent study for long-term independent study, which is a student that is on independent study for 15 days or more, has much more significant daily contact requirements than it's ever had before. So the amount of staff it takes to conduct independent study has increased, including the demand for independent study has increased. So the other element that's significantly affecting schools is that students that are on true quarantine, not the modified quarantine, but true quarantine, are also put on independent study. Independent study should be a tool that is used when a parent or a family chooses to use it. It should not be something that's forced on a family, because independent study completely removes the student from any direct instruction that's happening in the classroom. It does provide some simultaneous instruction and some connection on a daily basis, but it does not link into the daily instruction like distance learning did. So I'm sharing this with you because it's important to understand that schools right now, they're not really concerned about connectivity or home connectivity. Because they're really focusing on how to meet the challenges of independent study laws. The other thing that's really happening to schools right now is we are having a massive staffing shortage. I was actually on the phone yesterday and the day before with both Dr. Wood and Senator McGuire, and both of them asked me whether this year was more difficult than last year for schools. And I had to take pause for a minute, because last year, while we were thrown into distance learning and we were very unprepared for that direction because we thought we were opening in a hybrid learning environment, this year we've been very prepared for what's been in front of us. But because our staffing shortages are so significant and severe, and because schools are also having to be medical clinics, mental health clinics, as well as schools, our staffing shortages are unparalleled. Our administrators are running hours that cannot be sustained. Our school administrators are doubling as crossing guards, as classroom aides, as cafeteria workers, as well as teachers. Our largest two school districts in the county, Ukiah Unified, reports 40 teacher interns and over 26 unfilled positions. Fort Bragg Unified reports over a dozen unfilled positions. The teachers and the other staff are filling in for those vacancies, as well as the administrators. Our two littlest school districts, we've got Manchester Unified, the brand new school district superintendent that was hired to lead Manchester is now teaching full-time 8th grade. And in Point Arena School District, the brand new elementary principal is now the full-time K through 8 distance learning teacher, independent study teacher. So my ask to all of you is, if you know anyone that has any spare time, please volunteer in your local school. We are dying. We're drowning in the amount of work that is needing to be done. So my answer to the senator and to Dr. Wood truly is, this year is harder. Despite the fact that we know what we're doing, our mitigation strategies are in place, and we've got kids back in seats. Because of the lack of staffing, and again, this is across our county and really across the state, Educators are drowning this year, and we're exhausted, and not due to the core purpose of education at all. And we are only a week and a half into the school year. I am extremely concerned for the state of our schools this year. So that's what I have to share. Any questions?
Thank you, Michelle.
Michelle, can I just ask you a quick question? When you mentioned wanting to engage us in volunteerism, there's also seems to be a strong message that we can't volunteer at the schools because of COVID risk. Can you discuss that?
Well, we're utilizing strong mitigation strategies. And yes, we are limiting the general population coming into the schools because we have to limit exposure in general. However, having a consistent volunteer that is coming in, that is someone that we could do training with, or even if anybody wants to join the substitute list or any of the other elements of how you can get engaged with schools, having a consistent person is not something they're going to say no to. It's the dropping by a school just for 5 minutes, a rotating of general population that we can't have or have to limit.
Michelle, this is
Go
Mike.
ahead.
How long does it take to get security clearance for folks to work in the school systems in Mendocino County?
That depends how many states you've lived in. If you've only lived in California, it can be quite quick, and you don't have a large criminal record, it can be only 24 hours. If you have a criminal record or you've lived in multiple states, it can take a few days.
Maybe there's a campaign needed to get volunteers.
Yeah. I mean, in general, across our county.
Yeah, maybe that's a significant need, is to, how to sign up, what's your obligation, what you can do, and just, across the population.
So
Is
I
it
have a
maybe-
couple of questions unrelated to the school year, but the schools. First of all, would like to say that with the outreach with regard to the speed test, we hope that we can still utilize your outreach through your media posts and this individual school district somehow get onto your distribution list.
Yes,
so that we can
absolutely.
push out the speed.
Mhm.
And then when it comes to the middle mile and the anchor institutions, it's my understanding, or just research, that every school in Mendocino County might already be receiving 100 megabits down, if not higher. Are there schools that are still challenged on their campuses?
Laytonville and Covelo are two schools that are, and Leggett and Whale Gulch are our schools that are challenged in that north corner of the county. I believe we have, in order to get the line out to, there's a line of sight piece that happens out to Covelo that gets interrupted a lot. Yeah.
As I was showing the map, I think that the designers of the middle mile are already factoring in which institutions have good connectivity and which need. So the line out to Covelo obviously has tribal implications as well as educational implications.
Yeah,
and then
that's
probably
gonna be
right.
great.
Jeff,
So-
do you have any understanding of data rates to schools? Because while getting 100 megabits out to Marianne or John Haschek makes sense, if you have 100 or 400 kids at a school sharing that connection, it's no longer broadband. And yet I know we're not going to get 100 megabits per child. How is the state gauging the needs of schools on a data throughput?
I don't know on the technical basis, but
and maybe
I know that the intent is to get fiber to all the campuses. So that would imply much higher throughput than 100 megabits.